target. I never miss a shot. Let me take the shot.